Hello, everybody. Welcome into the NBA Front Office Show. I'm Trevor Lane, joined by Keith Smith. Lots going on around the NBA to discuss. Make sure you do subscribe right here to the YouTube channel, as well as follow us over on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. Keith, we had some fun basketball last night, didn't we? Some really good games that were a blast to watch.
Yeah, there were a couple really good ones early, and then Luka, Lakers, Mavs ended up being a lot of fun. That was a good one, and yeah, I mean, just about every night the NBA delivers with really good games. You just got to watch. Like I tell people this because people get so hung up on the national TV games and that, and I get some people don't have League Pass, but if you do, like zip around League Pass, you'll find at least 2-3 good games almost every single night.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where League Pass becomes really invaluable. And in addition to the features that they have after the games to watch, if you missed a game or something, to be able to go back in, especially cutting out like all the timeouts and stoppages and stuff like that, super, super helpful to be able to watch a game.
Possession only condensed versions are huge. Like I couldn't do watch half of what I watch without those.
Even if you really are pressed for time, the 10-minute or less version gives you more than what just watching a quick highlight package or something. It gives you way more of the vibe of the game. So there's lots of options on there. But anyway, this is League Pass is not a sponsor. Maybe they should be.
Yeah, maybe they should be. I will say this too: the NBA site specifically, for the majority, every once in a while they'll miss a game here and there, but the vast majority of games, if you just were in a box score on there and you're like, wait a minute, this guy had 3 blocks or 10 assists, you can click on any stat and it'll pull up the clips of all that stat there. So like Luke had 12 assists last night. You can pull up those 12 assists and just watch how he got them all. And that's particularly helpful. Like if a big man has oh wow, this non-Jokic division, obviously this big had 7 assists. And sometimes if I didn't watch the whole game, I'll watch those to watch them. And it's like, oh, well, 6 of them were DHOs, where he didn't really create and, wasn't that. But yeah, I mean, that's just a very, fun way. And that's how I do the basketball bulletin often. I make a million notes on a time when it's there. And then I go find it. Look, and there it is.
And there it is. And there it is. There's your clip, the basketball bulletin, the written side of it over on the Substack. You could find clips like this there. This was obviously a crazy pass, but Keith just went in. I would assume I did this morning as well. I would assume you went in, you looked at all of Luka's assists. You went, oh yeah, I remember he had that crazy one with Austin Reeves. You pull the clip. And there it is. And you can see all of his assists from the game and then find the one that you're looking for. Or sometimes, like you said, if it's a game that you missed, you can go in and then you can get a look at the plays that maybe you didn't get to see and see, okay, how exactly did this guy get so many assists or so many blocks or whatever.
Yeah, that in this one specifically, as I saw it live, I just wrote a note down. I always have a notepad next to me when I'm watching the game, and I make a little note of time, score, and what the play was. So that way I'd like to say I have a memory that I can remember all of it, but I certainly can't. So then I need to go back and find it. But I mean, this was just, that play, what a pass. This was the one I put on Twitter this morning.
Right here at the Mavs defense.
Yeah, it's all 5 guys.
That's absurd.
All 5 guys. Yep. And good job by Austin too to lift and relocate out to the arc to give Luka. And these are the things that are going to come more and more and more as they play more together. And they just kind of know where to be on the floor together. I mean, this is, this was just ridiculous because this is the equivalent of a quarterback just throwing a pass to a spot with just, I'll trust my guy will be there.
Exactly. Because this was, right here, Austin would have been just out of his field of vision, right? Especially with the defender on his hip there, on Luka's hip. And then he just throws it knowing, hey, he's probably going to be right about there and trusting it. Absolutely unbelievable.
I thought he was going to throw the hook pass to Rui in the corner.
I did too.
And then just overhead behind his head, however you want to term it, out to Austin. That's one too where it's like you have to make that shot. Otherwise, pack your bags and move to Siberia because everyone's just going to be mad at you.
If you ruin that,
that's not a Austin Reeves picking on him thing. That's any player blows a great pass. Like it's like I like to say, right, well, what's the quote from It's a Wonderful Life? Every time a bell rings, an
An
angel
angel
gets
gets its
its
wings.
wings.
Yeah.
I like to say every time a shot misses after great ball movement, an angel loses its wings, because like it's just it's I mean those possessions where there's like 7 great passes and guys being unselfish just for a clank jumper, like those are just the killers. But
They
yeah,
really are.
yeah.
They
So
really are. All right.
I mean, yeah, exactly. I was going to
While
say,
we're
let's
on it,
get
we
into
might
the
as well
game.
talk about it. The big, a lot of attention, obviously, on Luka's first game against the Dallas Mavericks, his former club. Keith, I've talked about it a ton, obviously, already. What were your thoughts on that game and just kind of the spectacle around it?
Yeah, I loved Luka's approach. He tried to kind of get himself going early. Looked like in the first quarter, he missed his first couple, but that was fine. He was just getting into the rhythm. And then once he got going, it kind of looked like, oh, he might drop 50, 60 on these guys. And then Dallas aggressively double teamed and trapped him. And what's so great is Luka was like, okay, fine, then I'll just pass. And he had, I think he finished with 12 assists, but he had countless hockey assists where like he got the ball moving and then somebody else made the play as the Mavs, were kind of stuck. Like he never got to a point where it's like, I'm going to force shots. Like it was any shots he did take the rest of the way after the first quarter were just in rhythm, good looks. He didn't force it. He just kind of played his game. And that was huge because that let everybody else get going. And in Dallas just did this limited version of the Mavericks. They just didn't have enough guys beyond Kyrie to keep up. When the Lakers were making plays and LeBron scoring and Austin Reeves is scoring, Jared Vanderbilt hit 2 3-pointers off passes from Luka. Like that's just found gold, right? Like that's just let's go. So yeah, I loved that part of the game from Luka. I would say the only worrisome parts at all for the Lakers were Dallas got 14 offensive rebounds, playing guys who were barely taller than you and I. So that's a little worrisome. Not the end of the world, right? A lot of that was, I think that, and I think conceding so many open shots were to an extent by design for the Lakers. Cause I think the idea was, all right, we're going to really make sure Kyrie has to work here. And if he's going to score, he's going to do it over an extra defender. And they did a good job of making sure a lot of those shots went to Dante Exum and guys you want taking them. And then some of the offensive rebounds came because they were scrambled after a double team or after a trap, and they were maybe a guy shorthanded on the boards. But overall, great game, for the Lakers. They really played well. And if I'm the Mavericks, I kind of walk away with like, all right, we lost, but we're in it, and we didn't have any. We didn't have any bigs of note. I mean, Dwight Powell had to play 16 minutes, and that's not a good thing.
His first game back.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, first game back for him. So I think you feel pretty good if you're the Mavs walking out of there too. Of all right, if we see these guys again and we have our guys, I think we can feel pretty good about making it, making a game, a series of it, whatever it may be.
Yeah. Oh boy, so could you imagine? Could you imagine if we get Lakers Mavs in the playoffs?
Oh, they'd be. Can you imagine the TV partners? They'd be like, "Thank you, basketball gods, for this." Like,
they would be so happy.
It's going to be tough to get it right because I think the Lakers are going to be in that mix from. Well, I guess if the Lakers get up to 2, we could get it. Maybe the Mavs could get up to 6, but I don't see the Lakers falling below 4 at this point. So I don't know that Dallas will get to where they need to be.
They're tied right now with the Rockets for 5.
Yeah.
I mean, in terms of games back.
Yeah, I don't think I think the Lakers are going to play better than the Rockets the rest of the way. Okay. That's just
and they have over the last 10.
Yeah, I think when we settle in, I think Denver, Memphis is, kind of flip a coin. Maybe the Lakers end up passing Memphis. I think Denver's been on a little bit of a run here, despite the loss to LA the other night. I think they're probably going to finish 2. Then, you could tell me on almost any order, but I do think the Rockets will end up in 5th, which then you probably don't want to be 4th because that's just going to be a pain in the ass.
That's a battle.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's just like they're just tough. Like it's just, I wouldn't want to have to play them, in the first round just because you're going to have to work.
Yeah, they are going to be a pain in the butt. Although we get to enjoy more of Dylan Brooks against LeBron if that ends up happening, which is
that is true.
always a blast.
Well, that's a blast for LeBron and Lakers fans. I know how much Dylan Brooks ends up liking.
I mean, it's just from a media
Sure.
intrigue perspective as well, because Brooks is always such a good quote to say something stupid, and
when he will talk to the media,
when he will talk, yes, he does tend to poke the bear, and that's that's always a thing. Speaking of Dylan Brooks and the Rockets, let's talk about a couple of these games here. The Grizzlies are able to see it out against the Suns, and the Rockets hang on against the Bucks last night. A couple of really close games that we saw in the association. I guess let's just start with Grizz and Suns. Boy, Kate, the Phoenix Suns, I mean, I know they got to OT, but man, I mean, 2-8 in their last 10. I mean, now you're 2.5 games back.
Yeah.
Are they just done?
3 in the loss column.
Are the Suns done?
I think so. I think so. I don't think Clippers, Timberwolves, Warriors, or Mavs are coming back to them. And again, this is all without some insane injury. Maybe the Kings, but I think the Kings are enough better. I think they're motivated to get into the play-in tournament. Maybe more than the Suns are. The Suns, like, now look behind. You're closer to the Trailblazers than you are anybody else.
That's crazy.
The Suns may look at this and be like, well, we're not handing anybody, they don't have their own control of their own pick this year. So they're going to hand that pick off to, I don't remember. They have so many of these Horcrux picks that I don't even remember who gets it. It goes to Houston. So that's, I mean, I'm sure the Rockets are like, yes, please bottom out even further, fall apart. Right. But yeah, they just look unhappy. Last night's game was weird. Devin Booker fouled out. After he fouled out, they had a hard time really just getting enough offense going. That wasn't Kevin Durant doing it by himself. Bradley Beal, for as good of a player as he is not able to bring the ball up, get you into your offense, and then create something too. Like, he just can't do that at this point in his career. That was a struggle that kind of allowed Memphis to get back in it. So yeah, I mean, tough for them. I think they're done. I think we have our 10 teams in the West. The order, who knows? I mean, other than OKC's 1, I don't know who's coming after that, but I think we've got our 10 teams in the West.
Yeah, I do agree. I think this is probably going to be the teams in the Western Conference. The Grizz, what about them? I mean, do they finish with a 2 seed in the West?
I think
right
Denver's
now that's where they're at, but Denver's right there.
Yeah, I think Denver's going to pass them. But I wouldn't be shocked if Memphis finishes in the 2 seed. They're good. They're tough. They're really good at home. They're not very good on the road. You can see it if you're watching on YouTube. You can see the standings pages up. They're only 16-14. On the road, the Grizzlies are. They're 22-6 at home. So one of the best home teams in the league. Great home court advantage. So yeah, we'll see. I haven't looked to see the strength of schedules. I know Denver's is fairly easy, I believe. The rest of the way, I don't know about Memphis's.
Denver has the 3rd most difficult remaining strength.
Oh, they do. Okay, so maybe I had that off. No, Memphis is 8th. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess maybe it's probably going to be tight the rest of the way. Houston's got the easiest schedule of that group of 4. That's a little misleading though, because I think some of these teams are better than the Lakers are better than their record is, especially now. The Clippers, I think, are better than their record. The Pacers, the Warriors. So yeah, it's going to be really tight. I mean, no one's running down OKC. We know this.
No.
To be true, but yeah, I mean, kind of this is going to be, like we've said for a few years running now, this is going to be, you have a bad week, you may drop a few spots in the standings.
Yeah, that's exactly what very well could happen here for a team like the Grizz, like any of these teams in the West. That could definitely happen.
Yeah.
I guess let's go over to Rockets Bucks. I know we had a flagrant 2. I was starting to prepare for the Lakers game.
Yeah.
What happened on the ejection?
Yeah, Giannis had a drive, and Amen Thompson went up, and he went up with the intention of fouling him, and where it was definitely going to be a flagrant 1. When you saw the full replay, he kind of came around him, and his left hand like got Giannis in the side of the head
Oh,
pretty hard, and then he like pulled him down by his head and neck. And at that point, it was like once they showed that angle, it was like, oh, he's gone. Like this
yeah.
is gonna be it. You can, especially with big guys, they let you hit them harder than they do anybody else. Which has been a thing for a million years. That big guys are like, what? Like, why is that okay?
Oh, yeah. People used to hang on Shaq.
Yeah, Shaq, Dwight Howard went through the same
Yep.
thing, with that. Like, I think, those guys, and now it's Giannis's turn, right? Where it's like, let guys hang all over him and, beat him up. But this one was pretty obvious. And the bummer was for the Rockets, and they ended up winning the game, but Thompson had defended Damian Lillard as good as anybody has all season long. He was doing a really good job of the Bucks, like with a lot of teams, point guard brings it up, gets them in their set, gets off the ball, and then will come circle back around and get it, or maybe they run something to get him a shot.
Mm-hmm.
Once he gave up the ball, he was not getting it back. Thompson played great denial defense on him, chasing him through screens, just playing him, really kind of staying hugged up on him, making sure he couldn't get the ball back. So that part was, tough, but the Rockets made a bunch of plays. Jalen Green made some nice plays. And then Alperen Sengun, I put it in the basketball bulletin. He had a great block on Giannis. A play where he picked Giannis up at the 3-point line, moved his feet and stayed with him on a drive, and then blocked a layup at the rim from Giannis, which like Sengun doesn't do that. That's not
here's
really
the
thing
clip,
he
right?
does. Yeah, if you want to run the clip, we can.
Yeah. Okay.
From the article for those watching. But yeah, I mean, look at where he picks him up. Picks him up out at the arc. Well, you'll see how the play starts. Giannis gets off the ball, goes back around, takes a handoff, switch, moves his feet, stays with him, and a really nice block.
Yeah. He timed that right, just read the whole play. That's one where if Giannis like pump fakes here, he's gonna pick up a foul. But I mean, Sengun knew exactly where the ball was going. What a great read by him.
Yeah. I said it this morning on social media without being like joking at all, given the time and score. Because if you look, 92-91 late in the fourth quarter, I think that's the best defensive play he's ever made in his career. Yeah. And that's not exactly a high bar. It's not like he's loading up with defensive player of the year clips, but it's
really also a legit play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Against one of the best players in the world. So yeah. I mean, just a really, really good win for Houston. Like, and as you said, when we're looking at the standings, they've been scuffling a little bit. It's been kind of win one, lose one for them, and played well. I'm encouraged with where they're at. Moving forward. Now they'll stay top 5, even if you're 5th. All right, it's still better than being in the play-in tournament. It's certainly better than missing out entirely. So, yeah, great step forward season for Houston.
All right, let's jump over. I guess before we get into, let's just jump into the NBA draft stuff here. So, Keith, you put this in here, 2026 NBA draft.
Yeah, I don't know if you've even seen this.
I haven't. I've been doing a few Lakers things this morning. So, what's going on here?
Yeah, so ESPN ran their first 2026 mock draft. So this is not this year. This is not Cooper Flagg, Dylan Harper, Ace Bailey. This is the next year mock draft that they ran here. And when they ran it, they also, as they tend to do, they had some like pretty good intel in there on a few other things. Just if anybody's really wondering, all right, well, who are the guys I need to know? Darren Peterson, he's a combo guard, big kid. They list him at 6'6". I think he's probably more like 6'4", maybe 6'5". But he's going to Kansas. He's right now the number 1 pick. AJ DeBonce, he's the one who like a lot of people have been waiting on and know about. He's a wing, kind of your prototypical wing that everybody wants right now. He's going to BYU. And then Cameron Boozer is the 3rd pick. He's Carlos Boozer's son, one of his 2 sons. He's going to Duke. And he's like his dad. He's a power forward, but he's Carlos Boozer was very physical and was always just kind of an interior guy. Cam can move the ball a little bit, handle a little bit, shoot a little bit more than his dad can. That's all well and good. Great. We're going to do 9 million mock drafts on those guys. We're a year plus away on them even coming in. The interesting part was at the end, Jeremy Woo, who does really good work for ESPN on draft stuff with Jonathan Givony. He had a thing about how a lot of guys may stay in college
Mhm.
now who are like fringe first round picks because the NIL money is so good now that it's actually better than second round pick deals. And it's better, certainly better than a two-way pick deal. If you think there's a chance you may slip in a two-way range in the draft or even to go undrafted. So a couple of guys they mentioned were guys like Ian Jackson and Drake Powell from North Carolina, who were at one point mentioned as potential lottery picks. They were in that list there. And then he also added in a lot of older players, guys who have maybe going into their fourth year of eligibility, fifth year if they've got one. Those guys may stick as well because with those guys, they're definitely going to probably be in second round range. And for them, it's they can make $1 million or more by playing in college. So now the draw isn't there. So I think we're going to see a little bit of a swing back. Guys like Cooper Flag, and we got this question in the comments of he might stay at Duke. I know he said he loves Duke and maybe
Everybody
he'll come back.
does this, though.
He's not. Like
No.
part of he reclassified to not to get to Duke a year early, to get to the
Right.
NBA a year early. He should be a high school senior right now. He reclassified to graduate early so that way he could get into this NBA draft. He's not staying at Duke. He's the number one pick. Even if it is, well, he could make $10 million at Duke next year. Yeah, great. What it's about for him is get the contract clock started so that way you get into that second and that third, and he will come in young enough. He may get to a fourth contract too if he turns out to be everything we think he's going to be. So that guys like him, Dylan Harper, Ace Bailey,
They're coming
Casper
out.
Siakis, those guys are all going to come out. If you're a lottery pick, you're going to come out. We're really talking about guys who are, let's say, 20 is their high end, and this could be more like you might like a Justin Edwards, who is thought to be a first round pick. I had him as a first round pick on my board. He ended up going undrafted and having to sign a two-way. A guy like him, his equivalent player, like a Drake Powell, could be a guy who's like, all right, I'm just going to stay then. I'm not going to go because what's the point when I can make a lot of money in college, boost my draft stock, and get in next year, and then I can maybe
As a higher pick.
Yeah, exactly. So I thought it was interesting just because what's fun is I think this is good for the sport overall. Remember when we were growing up, right? You fell in love with these college players because you saw them for 2, 3, even 4 years at schools. Like, now it's become, all right, we saw 30 games of you at college and you're going to be out. Like the two Rutgers guys, Bailey and Harper, they're not even going to make they might not even finish with a 500 record at Rutgers. So we might not even see them. They may not even make their conference tournament because you have to finish high enough in the Big Ten to even get into that. And if that doesn't happen, that's it. We got our 30 games of them. And then next we see them will be in the NBA. So it will be fun to get to see some of these guys for 2, 3, 4 years, really get to know them and feel a lot better about them. So just thought it was worth kind of talking about a little bit today.
No, that is a significant shift too, especially like the end of the first round, beginning of the second round. That's where a lot of teams have historically grabbed some of these older players that are ready to come in and contribute a little bit earlier. And so that can, I think, shift some things for NBA teams as well as they're looking at the draft. And some of these guys say, yeah, you know what? The NIL money is there for me. I'm just going to stick in school. That might change in terms of how it would have to be a significant number of players that do it, but it may change how NBA teams start to look to value picks because there have been some guys who wind up falling just because they are a little bit older in the draft. And then you wind up finding guys at that spot that can come in and contribute almost immediately for an NBA team. That may start to become more of a little bit of a thing of the past here as players have more incentive to stay in school. But like you said, that's the guys at the top, even if they talk about how much they love school and all that kind of stuff. And that's very well true.
Sure.
But that doesn't mean they're staying. They'd be crazy to stay. Yeah. You're not going to improve your draft. When you're projected to go number one, you don't have anywhere else to go. You might as well go.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, and I'm sure Cooper Flag loves playing at Duke and in front of the Cameron Crazies and has enjoyed his year there. And he'll always have that fond memory as he's making millions of dollars for whatever NBA team he's playing for.
All right, let's go here. The Wolves, they made a move that I believe we talked about it yesterday, that this is probably going to happen. Jalen Clark getting signed to a standard deal here for Minnesota. What is this? I mean, obviously Clark has been playing well. He's even been starting recently, hasn't he? And so he was on a two-way contract with Minnesota. Now he'll get a full roster spot here. I'm curious to see how many years. If I'm an NBA team in this situation,
two-way.
It is a 2-year deal,
or not two-way. It's a 2-year
full
standard
year,
deal.
full,
So that'll
full
be
deal.
rest of this year and next year. My guess is what this will be like we saw with Justin Edwards and a couple other guys. It'll probably be a team option that they'll decline, and then they'll sign him using his non-bird rights to a 3 or 4 year deal next year. Jalen Clark, this is a good example of he was a borderline first round pick 2 drafts ago, but got hurt, missed all of last season rehabbing while on a 2-way contract, came back in because a lot of people were like, how's he a rookie at 23? Like, where are we at? Like, and people were like, I didn't even remember him in this year's draft. Yeah, he was a 2 drafts ago, rehabbed, came in, got jumped in the rotation because other wings went down in Minnesota. And then they lost Julius Randle, had to slide Jaden McDaniels up, and it became, all right, we need to put somebody else in there. So great story for him. They really worked hard to get to this point. And, I love stuff like this. When teams get there, the player plays his way off the 2-way contract, and he's there. This is huge. So that'll be my guess is it'll be a rest of season minimum for next year with a team option that Minnesota will probably decline. Then they'll re-sign him and move forward, like we've seen with some other guys. So good work for them to kind of rebuild some of that depth at the back end of the roster, which is so important when you're carrying, multiple guys, 30 million plus salaries.
And then the Pelicans do the same thing with Brandon Boston Jr. Yeah. They're going to sign him to a standard deal as well. 'Tis the season. This kind of stuff is going to be happening right now. Yeah. So the Pelicans making this move. They're, we've been talking about their season has been over since December, but this is still them getting him under contract, and now you've got another piece for this. This is the kind of stuff you have to do so that it makes it not truly a lost season. You try to identify talent and guys that can be, even if Brandon Boston winds up being a 10th or 11th guy on the ultimate version of the Pelicans, that's still a good find in a season that's been, admittedly, absolutely brutal for the Pels.
Yeah, especially for a team that has had 9 million injuries. To guys like just another guy who can play. This one little tweak on this one. This is his 4th year because he did already all the years with the Clippers on 2-way contracts. So what's going to happen with this one? That 2nd year probably won't be a team option, or if it is, they'll just pick it up because he will not be eligible for restricted free agency. So that's just a little difference because once you've hit 4 years of service, which you'll hit this year when this year completes, just a reminder, year of service happens after the season. You get credit for it. So when he completes this year, then he'll be able to be in a spot where the Pelicans would not have his restricted rights and anybody could sign him. So they don't have the benefit, like with Jalen Clark, the Wolves make him a restricted free agent, which that's going to scare anybody off from getting involved. Pelicans wouldn't have that. So expect Brandon Boston to either be a straight 2-year deal or an option that they're very likely to pick up. It might even be a partially guaranteed 2nd season, something like that. But that's what's happening here. The Wolves, interestingly, the 2-way replacement for Jalen Clark, Bones Highland is going to replace him. So why not, right? Take a look at him, see what it looks like. Then the Pelicans 2-way replacement is going to be Jalen Crutcher. People may remember him. He did a couple 10 days with them before. So he's right on the borderline. He's been one of the best point guards in the G League this year. Really solid playmaker. So he's getting a 2-way deal. So that's where we'll go with that.
All right. Let's go here. Upcoming transaction deadlines. Keith, we've got players have to be, remind me what it is. Players have to be waived or clear waivers by March 1st.
Players have to be waived by March 1st. So we've got 3 more days. Well, by the time a lot of people listen to this, 3 more days because it'll be the 27th, the 28th, and the 1st. If you're listening today or watching today, it's 4. But by March 1st, if you're on a roster today, you have to be waived by March 1st to be eligible to play in the postseason. You do not have to sign guys by March 1st. You can sign guys all the way up to the last day of the regular season. 2-way players can be converted after this date because they're already on your roster. That's fine. No issues there. So March 1st is the last day to waive a player. You have them be eligible for the postseason. So this is really the end of buyout season. Buyout season is really about a 2.5 to 3 week window between the end of the trade deadline and March 1st each year. So that's where we're at with this. You don't have to clear by March 1st. You can waive them on March 1st. They'll clear on the 3rd, 48 hours later, and off we go with that one. So that's that upcoming deadline. The other deadline, while you're seeing some of this two-way movement, is March 4th is the deadline to sign players to two-way contracts. And what you're seeing here is, so for example, the Timberwolves, like we said, Jalen Clark's been starting for them. They want him to be able to play in games for them, coming into the postseason. So what you want to see there is get him converted, but you don't want to just lose the spot. You could convert him on April 1st, but then you can't backfill the spot. So you want to be able to backfill the spot with somebody, get somebody into play, and that's why you do it this way. So Jalen Clark gets converted. So for any Lakers fans dreaming about Jordan Goodwin, or I see some Trey Jemison love out there too. Either one of those guys, March 4th is kind of the last day you're kind of looking at for that. Not that it couldn't happen after that, because it certainly could, but
you'd sacrifice a two-way spot.
Yeah, exactly. You sacrifice. And sometimes, like, let's say the Lakers, by the time we hit April 1st, with a couple weeks to go in the season, are like, we feel really good about our seeding. Teams will be like, hey, let's play our two-way guys the last couple weeks here, because why are we going to risk a rotation player going into the postseason? So we'll see. That's not a hard and fast thing, but that's why you're seeing some of this movement get done now, especially if they want to replace with another guy, call somebody up. I also did you see Armel Traore moved over to Europe?
I did
this week. Yeah. So he's I saw a couple of people ask him what's going on with him, and that he's headed off to Europe now.
Yep.
Which is good for him. He's not an NBA level player.
He does some things every now and then, but for the most part, it's tough to put him in there right now. Okay, so let's go over here. God, I hate finishing on the downside, but a couple of injuries here. Eric Gordon has wrist surgery. Where does Eric Gordon go from here? I mean, at this stage in his NBA career.
I mean, he started out the year. He had this dentistry thing going on where he was really struggling through something with, I assume, his teeth or jaw or whatever it was. And he had oral surgery, then came back and was playing great, like shooting the lights out, looked good. Eric Gordon's going to be one of those guys who, when he's 50, could walk out there and probably hit, an open jump shot or two. Question would be, can he move? Can he do anything else? And that's already kind of the question. But he's got a player option for next year. I think because they signed him and he gets the years of service because it was a two-way minimum, $3.5 million. He's not getting more than that, so he'll probably opt in and come back. And if I'm Philly, it's like, all right, if he can still shoot, then we're okay with this. And we'll see. But we're close to the end now for Eric Gordon. It's a little bit of a bummer that it's ending like this. Really great run for him. I mean, there's times when you look at him, because he just still had, like, and I can say this as someone with a round baby face myself as well. Like, he still looks like he's like 23 years old. Sometimes, but he's 36 now. So we're close to the end, but my guess is he picks up the player option, comes back, and Philly's like, all right, we can use him as depth, or, worst comes to worst, we'll throw him in a trade later.
Yeah. So we'll, this season, that's it for Eric Gordon. But I do think he's back with Philly next season, or, maybe he's a $3.4 million expiring contract. And then this sucks. Nikola Jovic has hand surgery. Not what you want to hear.
Hand. It broke his hand. So, the good news is it's a broken hand thing and not a tendon ligament thing where those can sometimes get sideways. A broken hand usually is you have the surgery, you fix it, and you come back from it. The other good news is a lot of times those are like 4 to 6 week things. So maybe he could get back before the end of the season, and he should be able to keep his conditioning up, because it's a broken hand.
So, he can still run.
Should be able to still do his running. Weird stuff going on with the Heat, though.
I look at this.
Jaime Jaquez has not been in the rotation since since just before the All-Star break, and definitely since they came back. He has not even played in games until the other night when they had a bunch of guys out. So that's a little odd with that. Terry Rozier is now fallen out of the rotation entirely. They're playing Alec Burks over him. the insert, is it because of the gambling stuff? Who knows? No clue. But yeah, weird. And they're playing like crap. Like they're playing really bad.
3-7
And it was
in their
all right
last
there
10.
for them. Yeah. They should be, by all accounts, I mean, they should probably be the 7th seed and in control in the play-in tournament. And they've really fallen out and have not played well. So, I don't know. It's just weird stuff going on. Feels like this summer could be a big transitional summer for Miami.
You thought that the air would clear in Miami post Jimmy.
Yeah.
And not that losing Jimmy Butler is a good thing from a talent perspective, but just that not having that drama around would perhaps allow them to kind of unlock some things. But man, I mean, they scored 86 points against Atlanta.
It's gross.
They scored 86 points against Brooklyn.
Yep.
Like what the hell, man?
Yeah. 86 against Atlanta, as you said, 85 against Boston. That's not
85 against Boston.
Big deal, but only 101 against the Thunder too. Also a good defense. They're getting drilled in some of these games. Like, it's been rough for Miami. They just don't have a lot, but outside of Tyler Hero and anything Spo schemes up that create stuff offensively. They had in the game against Atlanta, I think it might have been the Milwaukee game. It was one of the two. Andrew Wiggins was the Milwaukee game because Hero scored 40 and Wiggins was like 6 for 20 something or something like that shooting wise. And it's just Andrew Wiggins is a really nice player if he's your 4th best option on offense. If he's your 2nd best guy, like you're probably not going to go anywhere. And that's kind of now transferred from the Warriors, who were really struggling offensively outside of Steph. Now he's kind of the 2nd best offensive creator on the Heat, and they're struggling, with him in that role. So it's just not good times. I feel like Miami is going to do something huge out of nowhere this summer that like we're like, whoa, I did not expect to see that coming because it feels very unfinished with where they're going with this team. Yeah,
it indeed does. Indeed does. And we'll see what they do this summer. Ultimately, I think they've got some significant changes coming here. But all right. Well,
I want to throw one other quick thing. And at the end, let's end on a really nice positive. Did you see the stuff about Zion?
He's at the lowest weight he's been since he came into the NBA.
Yeah. And if you look at him and watch the way he's moving, he looks like it. I watched the entire game against the Spurs from last night because I hadn't checked in on either one of those teams for a while, and it was a close game. He's really moving well. Like he's always been an explosive leaper, even when he's been very heavy, but it's quickness in the open floor. He's got those super quick feet. And then of course, the leaping and jumping ability. They're playing him at the 3 right now, which if he's going to be light and can move like this, you can do. And it's been kind of fun watching him, kind of figure that stuff out. Kelly Olynyk's starting at the 4, which is giving them some floor spacing and another guy who can kind of keep the ball moving and stuff. So, Pelicans are, they stink. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to sell people on go watch all the Pelicans games.
Right.
But if you're like,
but
what
check
is
in
going
on Zion
here? Do one of those 10-minute versions or check in and pull the Zion clips and pull them and look at him and see like, all right, what do his baskets look like? He looks really, really good right now. Man, that is encouraging.
That's exciting.
I'm ready to get hurt again. I'm all in. I am all in on Zion again. Like
let's go.
Let's do it. So here we ended on a positive.
I like it. Way to find a positive here. Thank you again, everybody, for joining. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Till next time, see ya and stay safe.